The conclusion I and many others have come to is that the first soldier is actually related to Sephiroth. This might sound kind of crazy, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a subtitle or even a working title for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. Well, that aged well, didn't it? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it didn't take much longer to learn more about these trademarks after all. To catch you up to speed, back in roughly late February or so, 2 new trademarks were filed that were pretty clearly related to Final Fantasy VII in some way. The first being Ever Crisis and the second being the First Soldier. And many people, including myself, had speculated pretty wildly about what these could be. The main thing that many people took away was that Ever Crisis was something related to Zack, given the Crisis tagline, possibly even a Crisis Core remake. Which was sort of true, we'll get to that when we get to that. The other one being the First Soldier, many had assumed was something related to Sephiroth, him being canonically the First Soldier and all, so it seemed to line up. Maybe a subtitle for Part 2? Maybe Sephiroth DLC? Oh, Sephiroth Cologne? And before you laugh, just remember that that's actually a real product. But really, we had to speculate more and really wait to find out anything, which in all honesty could have been for a year or more. But shockingly, it wasn't all that long. Only a few weeks later did we find out more. After the state of play that revealed Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, the PS5 re-release of FF7R featuring a new episode with Yuffie and the special guest star known as Diarrhea, we got the reveal of 2 new mobile games on the Final Fantasy VII Twitter account. The first of these was Ever Crisis, but I'll be covering that in a future video. The second one, however, was weird. They had revealed a game known as Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier. Oh damn, here we go, this is gonna look so sick! Oh joy, I got to see Barrett dab, hell yeah. Okay, so yeah. The First Soldier wasn't a Sephiroth game or anything like that. Instead, the First Soldier was actually a Battle Royale game for mobile phones. Oh man, the good news just keeps on rolling. Okay, to be fair, yes, this was very weird and in many ways seemed completely ridiculous. But I do like to remain positive on the channel when I can, unless the discussion simply doesn't allow for me to be positive. So a lot of the time, I'd like to remain positive when I can, even if it seems a bit weird at first. Unless it's this, which in that case I swear to God a hernia is gonna pop. Plus in my spare time, I actually spend a lot of my time playing shooters. COD, Fortnite, Overwatch, the list goes on. It's a personal favorite genre of mine that I usually play in my free time. So it might just be my love for shooters, both multiplayer and single player, but I'm honestly a bit more open to this idea than some others. Not to say that's a perfect idea, far from it, but I at least think that there is potential here. Though it's not to say that I think this announcement is exactly perfect, so with that said, I'm going to go over some of the negatives I felt with the game thus far from what we know. This first one might be relatively small for some people, but for me at least, I'd probably be a lot more excited for this if it was coming to more platforms. Mobile only isn't the end of the world or anything, I mean it works fine for games like COD Mobile for example, but it sort of dilutes some of the excitement that I had originally had. I know some of you are going to say just use an emulator in your computer and boom, problem solved. Sure, that does solve the issue somewhat, but it's still the principle behind it. I think if this was on PC at the very least, or on PC and consoles alongside a mobile version, that'd be preferred. Maybe that'll happen down the road. Either way, it is something that really turns me off, to be honest. Even as someone who plays COD Mobile on occasion, I really can't stand to play the game for more than 20 minutes without wanting to play on a controller or keyboard and mouse. It just feels uncomfortable to me. Like I said, this is probably relatively small for some people, but it's something that I've felt since the reveal. The second one might also be something a bit random for some people, but it's just something that I felt. But does anyone else think the First Soldier just feels a bit random? I don't know, at least with Ever Crisis, that still feels like Final Fantasy to me. Hell, the concept alone is more intriguing to me. A demake of every single Final Fantasy related thing, including Before Crisis, which has never been localized before, and a playable Advent Children. That to me sounds a lot more interesting as a concept than Final Fantasy VII, but now as a Battle Royale. Like I said already though, I have nothing against BR games. In fact, I play them quite a bit. Like Warzone, Fortnite, I used to play Apex a good bit too. I might be dog shit at Fortnite, but I can still have fun. But when it comes to Final Fantasy VII, but as a BR, it just feels completely random and kind of ridiculous if I'm being honest. Not to say I dislike the concept, we'll get to the positives here in a minute, but I felt this way since the announcement. But if I'm gonna be brutally honest, that's all the major negatives I actually have for this. Yes, the concept is very weird and as I've stated already, a bit ridiculous. But I don't hate how this looks so far. Like I said, I like to try to remain more positive than negative on the channel, which is another reason why this fucking game is taking so long to review. So I'd like to get into the positives now about the game and how I feel about it. First off, as many have pointed out, this seemingly looks and runs really damn smooth. We see in the beginning of the trailer 3 separate locations, Don Cornea's mansion, Wall Market, and the Sector 5 slums. Whether these will be 3 separate maps you can choose from or one big connected map is yet to be known, but regardless, this still looks really damn good for a mobile game. I mean, sure, it isn't on par with the remake or anything, but the game still looks pretty damn good all things considered. Secondly, maybe I'm alone on this, but I think the game actually looks like a good bit of fun. Sure, it's nothing mind-blowing, but it looks, in my opinion at least, pretty fun and kind of creative for what is essentially Final Fantasy VII stuck in a BR. You have different magic spells and a sword alongside your gun. Some of the magic also looks really cool, like one that creates a shield to block incoming attacks, one that levitates you to get height, or even curing some of your allies mid-battle. Like I said, it doesn't look mind-blowing, and it's obviously borrowing some assets from the remake if you can't tell from this clip, or it's literally just Tifa's moveset from the remake, but outside of that, the game I think looks genuinely pretty fun. Sure, the shooting mechanics don't look amazing per se, but they don't look terrible, and I think the rest of the game looks like a solid enough time. Plus, I'm not gonna lie, having the option to summon an Aerith on someone genuinely sounds like a lot of fun. Imagine sneaking up on someone and throwing what's basically a mini nuke at them. Oh, this game's gonna make me a sadist. Nomura has also mentioned in interviews that, apparently, we're actually gonna see some Shinra employees and some more legendary FF7 characters when they were younger through this game's story. I would have preferred if this stuff was saved for the remake, but I think this is actually kind of a cool idea. Then I think about seeing Hojo again and I start throwing up out of my nose. Now, you might have noticed something though. I really don't have that many negatives or that many positives to say in the game. That's because, if I'm being honest, I have no real hatred or love for this game at the moment. It looks like a fairly solid battle royale and some of the mechanics look pretty interesting, but the fact that it's exclusive to phones and how ridiculous and random this concept is, it's just something I can't exactly form an opinion on right now. Basically, I'm going to be waiting until we learn more info about the game so I can really form an opinion on this, or when we play this for ourselves. Nomura has mentioned that closed beta is planned, so we'll probably play this soon, considering the game is also releasing later this year. But it won't take that long to learn more about the game, actually. Just in the last week, Square Enix has launched the Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier Twitter page, along with the Discord. Along with these two accounts came the announcement of a live stream called the Shinra EPC Private Security Force Orientation. This will be held on Friday, May 7th at 4 AM PDT, and the stream will be in Japanese with English commentary. On top of this, the stream will feature the producer for the game, Shuichi Ichikawa, and now creative director Tetsuya Nomura. The stream itself is going to reveal new info about the game, but also feature gameplay as well, with many Japanese content creators playing the game. Oh, this will also feature some news on Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, so you know I'm going to be watching that. So, I'm going to watch that stream and try and form a more conclusive opinion from what we'll be seeing. If I had to assume, we'll probably get a date for the closed beta here too. But yes, like the title of this video states, The First Soldier is weird, but I don't hate it. I think the concept itself actually sounds like it could be a lot of fun and has some interesting elements thus far. However, it's still an extremely bizarre and just plain weird concept for many reasons. That being said though, I'm going to wait until this upcoming stream and being able to play it myself to come up with my own opinion on it. With that said, we're done here. Leave a comment down below letting me know how you feel about The First Soldier. Whether it be positive or negative, let me know down below. Thank you all very much for watching, have a great night, stay safe, signing off. Peace out everyone.